Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. Doomfist got nerfed pretty recently, but Hydration, the pro player for LA Gladiators and a pretty good Doomfist himself, seems to think that these changes aren't a big deal and that he still will be a good pick. We go over all of that in a little bit more detail, but also in this video, we'll be talking about some Doomfist tips that Hydration wants to recommend, and also some mistakes that he sees some players making that he really wants to see them stop. You can find all of Hydration's details in the description below, alongside all of the LA Gladiator stuff, but let's get started. So just to start with, we actually did like another video talking to you, Hydration, about the Doomfist changes, and there are nerfs coming in, but first and foremost, you don't really think that they're going to make like a massive difference to the hero. If you're still good at him in ranked, you'll still be good at him, if not with a few playstyle changes.
Right, I don't think the nerfs are as impactful as people think they are. You just really have to change your playstyle. You have to engage more with your right click instead of your E.
Beforehand, most of the time Doomfists would have to stand on, say we're on second point of Dorado, they would stand on the high ground, look for a Zenyatta to use the slam ability on, uppercut him, use that combo, kill him, try and get back out. How would that change now? Would you still stand on the high ground to try and jump in with the punch, or how would your positioning change based on these changes, I suppose?
A lot of it comes down to the maps. You have to be really aware where the walls are and where the enemy team is going to be. So you might use some high ground to like drop down on them with the right click, or you can just flank. But it's just going to come down to like really thinking about it.
Where was just to be again really clear, where was Doomfist really good before? And why is Doomfist so good in like ranked and competitive? But he is used a little bit in the pro scene, but not an awful lot. Like, what is the difference there? Why is Doomfist such a monster pick sometimes in our own like competitive games?
Playing Doomfist on ladder is a lot easier, because if you're playing against people, it's very common that people don't know like to call where Doomfist is, to focus him, what cooldowns he has up and whatnot. So you can just get away with anything.
Are there any other big mistakes that you see or feel that other Doomfist players are making, or might make now that these changes will be going through soon?
I see a lot of people that are going to be engaging with their E, uppercutting, trying to kill someone. They fail on killing them and then they die, and then they'll go, this hero is dead, Blizzard killed my hero. I could see that happening a lot.
So what was the old combo, just to be clear? It would be slam, uppercut, shoot them with your primary fire whilst they're falling out the sky, maybe right click them? Is that what the combo used to be?
Generally you just slam, shoot uppercut, and then shoot until they're dead, and then you just punch away, or like do safety.
So what would it be now? So it'd be the opposite, so you jump down, right click, uppercut, shoot them, use the slam to get out?
You just right click in, make sure that you're at like a perfect angle so they hit a wall, and then you just uppercut out and you out, and you don't even have to shoot them, since it's 250.
When it comes, we'll go over each of the abilities then, and just sort of any tips or mistakes that you really want to highlight over the certain areas. We'll start with, first of all, the primary fire. Like, surprisingly an important bit of Doomfist's kit, right? Like, you have to do a good portion of damage just to be able to fire, but kind of what would you like to see more people do with this ability, or how do you feel that players are wasting your just typical primary fire? Like, what do you sort of see there?
A lot of people just shoot the left click, like they just spam it. They act like it's a Roadhog right click. But if you're behind someone, you should just save your shots, since you don't have a reload mechanic, so your shots are limited. You should be very conservative with them, and only use like when it matters. Don't just like throw it at a shield or like into a matrix.
So you feel that just generally people are wasting these because they're acting like it's a typical primary fire for any other hero, right? That you just spam the abilities, reload, you've got them again. You just feel that people are being very wasteful with their shots and shouldn't be.
It's somewhat similar to Ashe now. Each shot is a lot more valuable than the usual hero.
Mm-hmm. I guess the next thing to go on to then is the right click, the actual punch. There seems to be a lot more focus on that being able to do damage, whereas before it was mostly used only to get in and out of fights. It was more used as a get out or get in ability. So is there now a big focus on using your right click to do the damage now?
Yeah. You just have to make sure that there's a wall, but if there is not a wall that you can use your right click on, what you can do is just right click, cancel your right click mid punch, that way you go flying, and then you uppercut someone, and then you can shoot them, and that should kill them, and then you can E out similarly to just like the regular right click engage.
From yourself and other well-known Doomfist players, you can do some pretty awesome tech by using, you know, your rocket punch to hit like a certain like mold of an object that's something that's a bit curved, and you can use it to bounce yourself up. When it comes to practicing and learning to do stuff like that, how do you go about it? Do you just open up King's Row and try and bounce off some of the walls, or what's the best way of being able to use some of this sort of lesser well-known tech that Doomfist does have at his disposal?
In general, just like anything that you like that looks like a slope or something you can like slide off of is something you can surf off of. So even like the smallest things like a fire hydrant on like King's Row, or like even railings on some maps, you can actually fly off them.
So the slam ability is the one that got a lot of nerfs. It can no longer go as far as it used to. It now does less damage too. How much do you see this being used now? How would you use it differently? Because before it was used as the initiation to get in and do a good amount of damage. From every combo that we've spoken about so far, you haven't mentioned really how to use it other than to maybe get out. So where would you now use this ability?
I think that like the best way to use this ability right now would be to use it as escape, but you can also use it to combo into a grav. Not many people do this, but you can set up behind the enemy when your Zarya is looking for a grav and just E into the grav and then uppercut, and that does a lot of damage. It's like very similar to just ulting the grav. And the third best way to use it would just be like when you see like a death ball of tanks, you can just E into them and just get like 30% ult charge and just get out.
I do want to go over Uppercut now actually, because for the most part it seems pretty self-explanatory how you'd use it. You want to knock up a target that you're focusing down up in the air, so they have really little control over their character. Granted, they have more since these nerfs gone through, but it's a pretty self-explanatory ability, right? So what kind of mistakes do you see people using with Uppercut? What are people doing wrong with that ability specifically?
It's a pretty straightforward ability, but a lot of people, they don't get as much value as they can out of it, because now they have changed the uppercut hitbox, where it's a lot larger and it goes above you when you uppercut. So you can actually like reach Lucios that are just wall riding. Because like one of the worst things Doomfist struggled was verticality. So like a double jumping Genji or a Lucio just wall riding stalling the point, you can now just uppercut them.
Okay, that's fair. And finally, the ultimate. For the most part, again, you see this being used by teams really to get out of situations as opposed to being aggressive and trying to dive in. So again, any tips there that sort of spring to mind that you feel, even at people at your level, people are not doing correctly or could be doing better? What springs to mind when it comes to Meteor Strike and how to use it?
A lot of it is patience and cooldown management. Like if you see Zarya using bubbles, then that's a good time to ult. If he knows Zen doesn't have ult, that's also a really good time. And it's a very good escape tool, but it's also really good for comboing with like Grav. It's a very versatile ult. You just have to know like when to use it and like when is best to use it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you use Meteor Strike to get out of fights as a disengagement as opposed to being and using it to try and kill someone?
Maybe like 40% of my Meteor Strikes.
Okay, so not that many. Because speaking to other like Doomfists in the past, it's always been they only really use it to get out of fights as opposed to go aggressive. So I guess one thing that you do want to highlight is to not just save it to get out of fights, actually try and use it to get picks, right?
Yeah, you have to make sure to tell your team to go in though, because a lot of times they don't know you're Meteor Striking, so you just land in the enemy team, and then their Zen is just charging and right click and you die as soon as you land. And then your team is just a mile away, just sitting around doing nothing.
So we've gone over pretty much tips on every single aspect of Doomfist's kit. There's going to be people that want to learn him and practice him all the way down to sort of lower tiers of like silver and gold, right? People want to start picking up and practicing this hero. What kind of tips do you have when it comes to sort of learning him and getting to grips with him to begin with? Because as soon as you pick Doomfist, people on your team are going to be like, oh boy, like immediately ready to flame you if it starts going to shit, right? So kind of what tips did you have when you first started learning Doomfist to get to the level that you're at now?
Like the biggest, most important tip for Doomfist is to always save a cooldown to get out. You never want to go all in, unless you have like a supportal to back you up. But just, if you go in, make sure you have your ult, you have your right click, or you have like Shift E to get out. Just remember to think outside the box when playing Doomfist. There's a lot of crazy things you can do, especially with his punch and uppercut.
Again, finally, just at the end of this video, you don't really stream an awful lot, but no doubt when you do, you will pick up a lot of Doomfist and stuff. So where can people find more of you if they want to learn Doomfist from one of the best Doomfists in the Overwatch League, to be fair?
Twitch.tv/hydration. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter. It's also @hydration.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, you can check out all of Hydration and LA Gladiators stuff in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more of this with some other pro players, do let us know who you'd like us to talk to and over what hero. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.